Anyway, we establish in this scene in the garage that the relationship is going well and that Alex really likes Joyce a lot. Joyce being the woman that was crying. So naturally, Joyce is going to come in and crush everything by telling Alex that she got offered a role in LA. And of course, Alex couldn't possibly drive a cab in LA. I mean, you know, how could he do that?
Well, actually...
Sarcasm. Welcome back to another episode of The Rank. I'm John, and today we're going to be ranking the next episode of Taxi. Now, if you're enjoying these episodes, or if you just like Taxi and enjoy consuming content about it, please consider subscribing and or following. Like the episode, comment, send in questions, send in suggestions, whatever you want, to info@therankpodcast.com. Please also consider becoming a patron on our Patreon site at patreon.com/therankpodcast. Now, today, we're ranking the 10th episode of the second season of Taxi titled Alex's Romance, which was written by Ian Praiser and Howard Gewirtz and directed by Ed Weinberger, not James Burrows. This is the first time. We've done, 32 episodes of Taxi at this point, and finally we have a different director. Now, I say this pretty much every episode, but there's going to be spoilers. The series is 45 years old. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Watch it if you want to watch it. Now, the whole premise of this series is that we're trying to figure out what's the best sitcom of all time. And what we're doing is we're taking every episode, ranking it in 5 categories. And those rankings, we average them out. That becomes the series ranking. And then we find out what's the best sitcom of all time. And today, Taxi. And we start everything off with the Potent Notables. So here we go. Here come the Potent Notables.
Potent Notables.
So the 32nd episode of Taxi was released on Tuesday, November 20th, 1979. It was 12th for the week at a 22.5 rating, which is a pretty big drop-off from last week. I sort of wonder what that's all about. I suppose Laka's The Apartment episode wasn't that great, but I don't think it was so bad that it would have that much of a drop, you know? Jeez, I don't know. Anyway, it was the worst rated by far of ABC's Tuesday night lineup, with Three's Company, its lead-in, getting a 28.7, Angie, the 8:30 show, getting a 24.5, and Happy Days, the 8 o'clock, getting a 23.6. So it really fell off the wagon here for some reason. Now, what was the number one show for that week, you ask? Smokey and the Bandit on NBC. Yep, the movie Smokey and the Bandit had a 31.8 rating, just edging out Oh God, another movie airing on CBS. Now, if you don't know Oh God, that is a George Burns comedy where he plays God. So that's fun. That had a 31.7, so it just barely lost to Smokey and the Bandit. It's just so wild to me that movies used to own the airwaves whenever they would play them on TV. Now, on to the episode though. This was the first episode of Taxi in which Christopher Lloyd is listed as a regular cast member in the opening credits. And for that reason, let's talk a little Christopher Lloyd on Taxi. Now, he called being Reverend Jim his, quote, first real job. When Taxi came along, it was an area I did not expect to be in. I remember I was so astounded by the cast. They were all so wonderful and they worked so well together as an ensemble. Amazingly, up until that point, he hadn't seen himself as a comedy act. He ended up becoming a fan favorite. Now, the producers had to convince him to become a regular. Lloyd almost passed on the role because he didn't want to be in a sitcom. But James Burrows, after his guest performance as Jim in the episode Paper Marriage, knew he was going to have him back. Quote, I've never seen a room laugh louder, and that they'd be idiots not to have him back. Of course, Lloyd regretted his attitude towards sitcoms later, saying, quote, in the theater there was a kind of scorn, if I may say, for sitcoms. It was tantamount to selling your soul, so I came out with a little bit of an attitude, end quote. Well, I mean, people remember Taxi because of Christopher Lloyd, in my opinion. So, all right, those are the Potent Notables. Let's go to the episode overview. Now, I try not to see the IMDb ratings or other ratings for the episodes before I watch them so that it doesn't sway me, but I caught sight of this one and it was low, kind of a lower rate. I think it was like a 7.1, which isn't terrible, but not great. So I wasn't super excited going in, but it may have helped because I may be giving this away too early. Kind of liked this one. Maybe the low expectations helped it. I don't know. Now, we start off with the crying lady from the soap opera that Bobby was on being consoled by Bobby. Apparently she was fired from the show because she got too old, which is messed up because she's in her 30s.
30? OMG.
There's a series continuity here that I wasn't expecting. I wonder if in 1979 people watched this and were like, oh yeah, the lady from the soap opera that Bobby was on, he was on it for one episode. Either way, she's there and crying, which is the callback, and I enjoyed it. What Bobby does, though, is pawn her off on Alex. Amazingly, her and Alex hit it off, and then we're off to the races of short-lived romance. Alex and her go on a date together, and you can see that they're enjoying each other, but she's reluctant to get anything started with him because she's such a mess. But Alex says he's super organized, so it'll work out great. They end up back at Alex's apartment, and then they have this like standoff, and the whole her wanting to kiss him but not letting herself bit was cute, and it was well played by Judd Hirsch, actually. Of course, eventually they kiss and the relationship begins. So we head back to the garage and we get to see Jim back, which was exciting. It also gives me really high hopes for the rest of this series because I didn't get a ton of laughs in this one, but every time Jim was on screen, he got me at least once. So if we're going to have more of him, it's going to work for me, I think. Anyway, we establish in this scene in the garage that the relationship is going well and that Alex really likes Joyce a lot. Joyce being the woman that was crying. So naturally, Joyce is going to come in and crush everything by telling Alex that she got offered a role in LA. And of course, Alex couldn't possibly drive a cab in LA. I mean, how could he do that?
Well, actually...
Sarcasm. Anyway, he's bummed. He comes up with a bright idea to convince her to stay in New York, though. He's going to propose.
Granted, maybe this was not the best idea.
Now, again, if you want to take it that far, Alex, move to LA. Pretty sure they got cabs there. What I really liked was that they actually point out how absurd this all is. Joyce really hammers Alex for how ridiculous a proposal after what we find out is a 2-week relationship. And it was a good bit and it was funny. None of it really made me laugh out loud, but it was still fun. Now, eventually she leaves and Alex is a sad little puppy, but never fear, Jim is here. He's going to help him feel better, and for some reason, he recruits Bobby to help him. Except that it wasn't Bobby, it was Laka, and he just kept calling Laka Bobby. He then gives Laka, whom he thinks is Bobby still, a pep talk in front of Alex, instead of helping Alex, and then asks Alex how the work at the gallery is going, which is what Elaine does. I mean, this was all great stuff. It was a strong, silly ending to the episode, and I'm very much looking forward to more Jim. But before we get more Jim, we've got to rank it. So, let's go to the rank.
A rank.
The rank is where I rank the episode based on 5 categories: story, acting, dialogue, episode coherence, and character relatability. I rank it on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. And then we have a laugh counter where I tally up the amount of times the episode made me laugh out loud. 1 point per laugh out loud, that gets added to the score. Now, before we dive into the rankings here, I just want to say if you're enjoying the episode, please leave a like, it helps us out. But let's go to the first category here, which is story. And I gave story a 4.5. Now, this ended up being a much better story than I thought it was going to be when it started out. It's actually the story of a quick doomed relationship, and not doomed for anything bad, but just because they couldn't do long distance. It was a good story. So let's go to acting, which I gave a 4.25. So it was basically Judd Hirsch and the woman who played Joyce, and I thought they carried the episode really well. Everyone was pretty good. So let's go to dialogue, which I gave a 4. This is one of those where I was really entertained by the episode, but it just didn't make me laugh much. So I always end up giving those a 4 because, I mean, you got to make me laugh. That's the point. So let's go to episode coherence, which I gave a 5. I thought this maybe cohered the best of any episode I've seen of this series so far. It was a nice, simple story, which made it easier, but even so, everyone felt like they fit with who they are. So I thought it was great. So let's go to character relatability, the last category, which I gave a 4.5. I found this all very relatable. Maybe not proposing after 2 weeks, but I get the sentiment, I feel like it would be really tough to enjoy someone so thoroughly for 2 weeks and then be suddenly bereft of them. So I think it's all very relatable. I couldn't go full 5 though, because proposing in 2 weeks is just nuts. But anyway, let's go to the laugh counter, and it had some really strong rankings here, but unfortunately it only had 8 laughs. But thanks to its strong rankings, it did end up in one of the top 3 categories. It got a grand total of 30.25, which makes it I'd watch it again. And as for the series average, it went up just a little bit to a 25.4, which still just barely keeps it as a mediocre. So thanks for listening and or watching. If you'd like to see a list of our episode and series rankings, you can do that on our website at therankpodcast.com. Remember to subscribe, review, and comment. Please consider supporting us on our Patreon site at patreon.com/therankpodcast, where you can get access to all of our archived episodes. And also, please remember to like the episode if you enjoyed it. It really helps us out. So I'll leave you with this. You know why it doesn't make sense that Alex was so caught off guard? Because she gave notice, and it was 2 weeks later.
Not bad, but your delivery lacked a certain punch.
Oh, okay. It was 12th for the It was 12th for the week. I can't say it. It was 12th for the week at a 28. Fuck you. It was 12th for the week at a 12.5. No, not that. Damn it. I'm always like thinking, this time I won't give Antonio any bloopers. And every fucking time I can't say the words that I wrote.
We both know how this works.
It was 12th for the